Welcome, sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. It's time to activate your cranial downlinks and prepare to receive a raft of discussion on a cosmic ocean of science fiction and fantasy topics, interviews with local area genre devotees, and insightful prognostication by our soothsayers of science fiction, our forecasters of fantasy, and any other beings that happen to get caught in our gravity well. This is the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to another week free of the scourge of Bill and Linda.
You leave Linda out of this. She does good work.
That is fair. She is burdened with taking care of Bill.
Only to make sure he doesn't become the supervillain this world needs.
This world truly needs. Be careful. We don't know for sure that they're camping. He might be building his mech suit. You don't know.
It's true. We don't know.
Oh, well, either way, welcome back. I'm Seth.
I'm Charles.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Chris. Welcome to the Galactic Driftwood Podcast.
Did I not say welcome to the Galactic Driftwood Podcast? I'm a bad...
The power is going to your head. It's making you loopy.
Right?
Yeah, already you can see that I'm slipping.
Seth's on a power trip. You'll have to forgive him.
Soon the crown will fall from my head. It fell from Bill's. Probably right back onto Bill's head.
I mean,
anyway, this week we're talking about Nimona, a movie that is currently out on Netflix.
Based off of this comic novel right here.
Chris is currently holding up the graphic novel. Let's see.
It is written by Indy. The graphic novel is originally written by Indy Stevenson. She's an award-winning best-selling author and illustrator of Nimona, The Fire Never Goes Out, and co-creator Lumberjanes, which I read, which is absolutely hilarious. And she is also the showrunner for the Netflix series She-Ra and the Princesses of Powers.
She-Ra was really good. I need to actually finish watching it, but I've enjoyed what I've seen of it. I didn't know that she did Lumberjanes, but like looking at the original or the art style of the original comic, I can definitely see it. So this is.
I will say, I liked the art style for Lumberjanes. I think it worked really well. For this story, I'm not as. It's not my favorite style, but the dialogue is so well done, and it is so well illustrated. Like, I really appreciate the inspiration she has, and she creating this. I do prefer the Netflix's animation style of this story to her style of the graphic novel.
Yeah, the graphic novel, just to kind of show, well, and Seth can pull some of it up, but it's a very unique style in how it was done graphical wise. It's nothing really to, I don't think it wins any awards, but again, to Jenna's point, the story is really kind of where it's at in this. And it was definitely disappointing that the likes of Disney, if you weren't aware, actually had this to make and decided to step away from it just because of some of the components in this story, which we can talk about.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I do think that Disney, so kind of what you were talking about, Chris, is that this was originally with Fox Studios, I think, and Disney bought them and then passed on this, and no one knew about it really until Netflix decided to pick it up.
Yeah,
and buzz started generating, but I think if Disney would have wanted to put this out, they would have done some major edits to it.
Yeah, so this has some LGBTQ themes to it, and that's largely why Disney did not want to, move forward with this, probably because their image.
Yeah.
So
They,
let
they
that
don't
speak volumes about Disney. Let it.
like Disney will toss the LGBT community a side character who gives their same sex partner a side hug, and
Uh-huh.
Disney will be like, "See, inclusion." Nimona's main characters are fully two guys in a relationship, and they kiss on screen in a kids movie. Like,
Yes.
I don't know if I've seen that.
And it is. I mean, do we call this a kids movie, young adult? What would you call this?
Yeah, this
I'd
is
say young adult.
PG.
Yeah.
The middle teenagers. It was a little intense. I mean, for a young kid, it's a little intense, I thought, anyway.
It's PG.
Well, I know it's PG, but I'm just saying the opening was a little. It came at me pretty strong. The opening.
It
Not the-
does, and I think that's why. I think that's why Disney just didn't want to deal with it, is because it was out the gate.
It's a bit more complex of a story than their normal
Yeah.
princess finds that the strength was in her all along.
Yes.
This is much more a story of, hey, y'all have you need to reconsider your preconceived notions.
Yeah.
In your history.
Yeah. It's like this had this. I think this one goes way deeper than just about any movie Disney's ever made.
Yeah, and I thought it was a good opportunity for them, though, to take advantage of that, because it was a good story. But again, we don't have to rag on Disney for this. We should be talking about Nimona. But I thought it was worth putting out there that Netflix is the one that had to pick up the torch here and carry this through. And I thought it was phenomenal.
I am glad. I mean, it sounds like there was somebody, whether it was the author or what, but there was somebody out there not letting them smooth this over. It sounds like. I mean, does this represent what was in the book? Pretty good. Because I assume it does, because it's.
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. This was actually on my wife's to be read shelf. And so I just happened to be down in her library and realized that she had this going through something else to read. But yeah, it was from what I could tell when I skimmed through it a few weeks ago, it's pretty close to the story. So, and it's a thick novel. It's like a couple hundred pages, I think. So yeah, almost about 250 pages of a graphic novel. So it's a full-fledged film right here.
Yeah.
Like I do appreciate all the subtle dialogue. It is complex. I think it's a great story. It's well animated. The dialogue is amazing. And it's fun. But like there are just these little things that get you to think. So like when he asked her, what happens if you don't shift? Can you not shift? And she's like, then I get an itch, like under my skin. It's like telling someone, well, can you not be gay? Can you not be that gender? And she's like, no, but then I change and I'm alive. Why wouldn't I want to be alive?
So can we back up for a second then and get a quick synopsis?
Yeah, I was gonna say we've been talking about this for 10
about
minutes now, and we haven't really gone into it. So Nimona is a movie about. It starts off focusing on the knight who is about to be given his knighthood, named Ballastair Boldheart, and they live in a kingdom that is kind of fantasy sci-fi, where 1,000 years ago the kingdom's founder and great hero had defeated monsters and raised up an order of knights to defend the kingdom from monsters, and surrounded them in a wall. And we start off at the knighting ceremony, which is kind of like a huge media event with announcers and whatnot. And we meet Ballastair and Ambrosius Goldenloin, descendant of the original hero of the kingdom, and they are romantically involved. You get that right out of the gate because that's where some of the drama is going to come in later.
Mm-hmm.
And where the issue is with the knight Ballister is he's the first commoner. All of the other knights up to this point are descendants from the original knights, supposedly, which we find out later. You come to question this supposed origin story. And him as the first commoner, the queen declares that now anyone can be a knight if they work hard enough, which goes against tradition.
Mm-hmm.
But he was well received by the crowd and everything. So to be clear, when this is announced, there are people cheering him on and whatnot. But it was definitely not common.
Yeah. And that thunderous applause of him being knighted, the first commoner to receive the honor. And it's also very clear, like all the other knights are dressed are in like silver armor, except for Goldenloin, who has of course golden armor. Ballister's armor is black.
Yeah.
So
like an outcast.
They're very obviously calling him out as the black sheep.
Yeah.
And you see the other knights kind of harassing him prior to
they don't respect him at all. Yeah.
But that moment of thunderous applause is when his sword that he had been handed earlier opens up, fires a laser that kills the queen, and Goldenloin cuts his arm off, and because of that, there's a whole sequence he's able to flee.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that is prologue to this girl we see in the streets, seeing news reports of the queen killer, and she's just like, he's perfect.
Yep.
And you can see the first little bit of goblin energy out of Nimona right there, and somehow she, instead of the entire kingdom looking for her, manages to find Ballister's secret hideaway, and she just introduces herself as his new villain sidekick, with this fantastic energy that she just has throughout I love the character of Nimona. She's such a complete goblin.
Yeah, total.
My college self related to her very well.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking the first time I watched this. Is I'm like, I gotta get Jenna to see this. She's been channeling this character for years and hasn't realized it.
No, not at all.
Or the character's channeling her. I don't know. Maybe you met the original authors of this and made an impression. Who knows?
Yeah,
one of the times I drunkenly came out and climbed a tree or a light pole. College town.
Yeah. So when I first started this, I told Seth that I wasn't sure I was a fan of the animation styles. I get some of them are just too quirky for me. And as I'm watching it, this film does a good job of roping in pretty early, and it wasn't until she was introduced when she first meets this knight that I got sold, and it was when she starts talking about his arm, because it's the missing arm that was cut off, and he's since replaced it with kind of this makeshift. Say again.
A mechanical.
Like a mechanical arm. So she's kind of inspecting it. She goes, "Oh, what happened to your arm? Did you get cut off? Did it bleed a lot? Did they let you keep it?" And her eyes do this weird split thing, devilish type tone. And it was at that moment I knew that I was going to be entertained for the rest of the film. And so it was at that moment I was hooked, and she did not disappoint. And so what I also appreciated about it is, he is very wary of his newfound friend here, because she's very strange to him. He's like, "How are you zipping all over the place? What are you? Not only who are you, but what are you?"
Yeah, he's not too "what are you" yet. That's later.
That comes a little bit later.
Right now, he's just like, or she's like, "Who are we gonna kill first, boss?" And he's like, "We're not gonna kill anyone."
Yeah, at this
Okay.
point, he's just trying to get to the bottom of it, explain things, or just let people know, hey, I didn't do this. And she's all like, hey, let's get some revenge here. We're going to create a master plan. There's going to be killing. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
And she tries to tell them, they hate you. They're not going to listen to you. And then
Yeah.
he goes and gets himself put into jail because he tries to be logical about this, and it's not working.
Yeah, he decides he's going to go talk to Goldenloin because he knows he thinks he can explain himself to Goldenloin, but he gets immediately caught and thrown in prison, and she's also somehow immediately there to let him out of prison, and
which was the best prison break I've seen in a while.
Yeah, a fantastic prison break because she's like, yeah, we're gonna kill everyone. And he's like, no. And she's like, okay, we're gonna break everything. And he's like, no. And she's like,
well, this
fine.
If you go through this movie has great quote, and right there she goes, this is the plan. I break you out, chaos, destruction, something, we win.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, something, we win. And like as they're like escaping, they come across this room because he's like, names. Ballister's just like, how is this so easy? Where are all the guards? And then they come across a room that's just like full of unconscious bodies, like hanging from the ceiling, sticking out of garbage cans. And Nimona,
he's like trying to speak out, and she's all pouty, like tipping shit over and breaking shit.
Yeah, and Nimona's just like, they were like that when I got here.
Right? Yeah, and then she begins to display some of her powers.
Yeah, like they get trapped, and she's like, okay, boss, I'm gonna need you to be real cool about a lot of stuff really fast. Promise me you'll be okay. And eventually he's like, fine, I promise. And she's like, even when you see the horn? And he's like, horn? What horn? And then she shapeshifts for the first time because Nimona's a shapeshifter.
Into, what was it, a rhino was the first one? Something like that?
I know.
Yeah.
Then gorilla, ostrich, a whale, like it was a lot of different fun things.
Yeah. Armadillo.
Total wrecking ball through the palace.
Yeah. At one point, like Jenna said, she becomes a whale, and they just like smash through the ceiling several times over. And so this escape goes from her petulantly knocking statues over to just this full-on destruction of the castle. Just pure chaos, and it's just like 5 minutes of glory. I loved it so much. And then she, like, they land in a park outside, having been explosively ejected and falling stories and stories, and Nimona just lands perfectly. Ballister slides in on his face on the ground, and then like parapet in the castle behind them explodes. And we get one of my very favorite faces in my of any animation ever. This is now just like lives rent free in my brain. Metal. And the flames in her eyes. God, I love that scene so much.
I mean, and I think that's what makes it so, like, you can see the inspiration, the animation from your favorite animes with these chibi expressions, you know?
Yeah.
And it's perfectly well executed, and it just keeps you going and keeps you engaged throughout the whole film. And it's like, it's interesting because it's a cross between an anime, but also like in Ballister's animation, I see hence a road to El Dorado.
Both Ballister and Goldenloin in particular, you notice, have like the big expressive anime eyes.
They do, yeah.
So it's just like, so then he finds out she's a shapeshifter, and his whole training, the whole culture of the city is that any monster is bad, and no one ever goes beyond the wall because the city has been like built within a wall that is heavily fortified. And so his distress continues, but then, you know, when he sees that they find out that he's been framed from someone he trusts very closely. I don't know if we want to go into spoilers, but You keep getting these sense of characters are more complex, people are more complex. If you know, like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But then also
you have these old
this overzealous, unquestioning faith creates harmful actions.
Yeah, you have these old ideas that you've never ever examined. You just took them up with everyone else and you never looked at them. Why do we have a wall? Do you actually need a wall? Like, where are the monsters? You're just told that there are monsters, and here Nimona is, but she's a person. She's Nimona, is what she's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it is like this next part of the movie is a lot of Ballister kind of having the wool ripped from his eyes of the kingdom and the experience of other people in it, and understanding Nimona, and that just because she's different, like he accept, like it's a real cool bit of the story because like he really does just have to accept her. She doesn't need to change. He just needs to fully realize that it's Nimona, and he just has to take her for what she is.
And you see what self-righteousness does. This director kills the queen based off of a dream and her fanatical belief that a commoner never should have been a knight, because that's a crack in the wall and the monsters were going to kill them all, therefore becoming a monster herself.
And
who is murdered and is willing to kill half the city by the end of the movie to kill this one monster.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in essence not even fighting back, but just ready to commit suicide because they're tired of living with the prejudice.
Yeah, like this movie had a lot going on for its characters in a lot of different ways. Because not only do we see like the true, like the director go from the calm, collected, wise leader to this grasping, hateful old woman. We see like Ballister question his beliefs and grow as a person. We see Golden Loin go through kind of the same transformation, and like though, and I mean, like Nimona doesn't change because she's Nimona, but she does have her own like arc of like dealing with the pain of being ostracized and never accepted for so long.
Yeah,
like,
I would say there is a tipping point for Nimona where it becomes a little bit, she's pushed into becoming this self-fulfilling prophecy of this monster is going to come and kill us near the end of the film. But again, due to the relationship that she's built with Ballister, he's able to rein her back. But there does come a point where she does change, and not for the better. But she's kind of pushed into that direction and forced into that.
I don't think that was her like deciding she was going to be the monster.
Well, yeah,
She
visually she was just giving up at that point.
Yeah, visually, visually, it did look like she was attacking, but like like the arc of her story there is like she'd given up.
Yeah, and to the townspeople, it would have looked like she was attacking, and the monster theory was true. But then, thankfully, what happens near the end of the film is Ballister kind of walks her off that ledge, and you get to see that bond that is built. And
she explains it. There's some good. Because she goes, they grow up believing that they can be a hero if they drive a sword into the heart of anything different.
Yeah.
And I'm a monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, the world, I think I'm right on this, but they, the world they're in, they have a lot of modern technology. It's not that far apart from ours. There's napkin dispensers and there's computers, and even though there's knights. And so I think it can be said that they're trying to show, I think Nimona is not just her own, she's sort of a metaphor for what the knight would be going through in the modern world. I think there's this as being a gay man, right? I mean, she's talking for him in this fantasy land, but it's really in part would be if it was a modern adventure, it would have been he could make the same.
She would be, yeah. She if it were set in our modern world, she would probably be LGBTQ.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or a different race or a different religion.
Yeah.
Like we see this was the religion. You will go to heaven if you kill that other religion.
Mm-hmm.
That's still a thing in some places, in some countries. You will be a hero if you kill this other individuals of this other religion. They are monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean that it echoes like there's echoes all over. There's just a lot to find in the movie, I think.
But and that's why this book is so well done. Why this film came out so well done is because it still managed to be entertaining and funny, yet encompass all of these different issues from religion to race to LGBTQ, to how friendships can be destroyed and perceptions may not be what you think it is, and that history can ultimately be a lie as well. There's so much that was encompassed in this. It was very, very smart for what it was, and they still managed to keep it PG somehow. However, I would advocate for a rated R version with much more destruction, blood, and guts, because I would like to know, like, Nimona, like, how do you really feel? Right? Like, just to let her loose. Like, how would you really feel?
So,
one of my favorite bits, sorry, Jenna, like, I just had, so one of my favorite bits is, like, during the second big fight scene, she turns into a whale and, like, swallows several people. And, like, this is like right after, like, when her and Ballister are just like finally getting good together and like getting to accept each other. And so she eats several guys as a whale and blows them out the blowhole. And for a second, you can see she's nervous, and he's just like, "That was hella gross. Let's go." Anyway, Jenna, sorry.
No, I will say my critique is that I think they should have talked more about her origin. Because in the graphic novel, her village was being like attacked by raiders. A witch fell down a well. The witch turned her into a dragon to help her out of the well. And when she went back to help her village, they attacked her for being a dragon. And then by the time she was able to figure out how to shift into looking human again, her village had been destroyed. So she was like wandering around trying to find some semblance of purpose.
Yeah, and okay, so that actually makes, like, because the movie does go back to that well a couple times, but
but not in that detail. Slightly different type of story.
Like, the impression that the movie gave me is Nimona has just always been. Like, I kind of thought she was just like a force of nature or a nature spirit or something.
Yep. Yeah, they didn't really give her an origin for that.
Veterans, like, in that message, because they go away, they become, in essence, killers, what some people would perceive as monsters. They come back ready to help or just living with you again, and then they get rejected. We don't want you now. You're not a part of us. You're not who belongs in the society anymore. But we don't need you.
Yeah.
Everyone's like. But that is, until I'd say recently, between Vietnam and now, there's been a very hard state for those who go to war and then come back.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So
that's my only that in there.
Yeah, I would have put that in there too. Yeah, that would have.
I could deal with a director's cut that had another 15 minutes with Nimona's backstory.
Yeah, or just an additional, like, if they did a short story add-on into it, you could do an even short film on her origin on that as well. I'd be down for that.
Yeah. So, but I think, like, if I wanted to, like, kind of like wrap up why you should watch Nimona, I don't know if I've ever seen a movie that just like had more heart to it.
Yeah.
Like, this movie had a ton. It was all. just like made you feel good. Like I just
It did, despite the funny things that were going on and the serious circumstances. The movie does take you for an emotional ride, but a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was really impressed. I really enjoyed it. The description maybe like delay watching it because I'm like, oh, he's gonna be falsely accused. That's not nice. But let's get to the end. It was great. Probably one of my favorite animations in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is one of my favorite beginnings of especially any cartoon, but maybe even movies, because the setup 10 minutes in, I think it was almost right at 10
yeah.
He gets his arm cut off after, and it looks like he's betrayed the queen, but it's really not. That's not really not the case, you know. And the man that loves him just cut his arm off, and then the crowds just flipped on him.
Yep.
In a second. That was wild.
Yeah, this movie has some real emotional stakes with Ballister and Ambrosius Goldenline. Like those two are they've got some good chemistry in this. Like Ambrosius has this fantastic scene partway through where they're hunting Ballister, and he's just like questioning everything on the inside, but on the outside he's just like managing to keep it cool in front of the director.
That was a great scene.
Yeah, it was.
What he wants to say, the director, and then he's like, "Yep, everything's fine."
Yep. So here's what I sent to Seth, and this is to Charles's point. At 6:45 p.m. one evening, I said, "Hey, I'm going to check out Nimona right now." And at 6:48, I was like, "Oof, I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure about the animation style. It's not my thing." And then less than 10, 15 minutes later, I responded, "So far, this is metal." Okay. And then I made it all the way through to the end. And by 8-ish or so, I had responded, "All right, so 10 out of 10 was satisfied with that."
Yeah.
Hey, this was great. I went into it not really sure because, again, like I've mentioned, I have my biases on animation styles. But within a few minutes, I was in, stayed to the end, and was 10 out of 10. It was that good.
And they left it open for a sequel, or I guess a graphic novel does not. And I would be open to that if Stevenson is writing. She'd
Agreed.
have to
Also
be part
agreed.
of it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
And I'm ready.
the kingdom is like no, I'm not gonna say anything else. Like we've spoiled so much. I'm not gonna spoil this a little bit.
Be sure to put that in the description. Spoiler alerts.
I'll put spoiler alert in the description for this episode, definitely, because I forgot to push the little spoiler button because I'm not as good as the team of Bill and Linda. Because Linda usually manages all this while Bill talks, and I'm not as good as talking and doing.
That's because you don't share power. See what would have happened if you would have shared power? But no.
Got a point.
Yeah, I'm the Lord of the Stream does not share power.
Well, I would definitely recommend this. I was super happy to see the representation and just the deeper topics, because I agree with you, Charles. I think like young adult, maybe middle school, but I think it would be a great way to open not only questions of alternative identities, but also how do you know what you know? What do you believe? And finding constructive ways to question those. That you can either then keep those ideas or find another level of enlightenment.
Tear down existing power structures that don't allow for your existence.
There you go.
Like, I think that's a message that some of the kids are going to hear loud and clear. And I'm looking forward to it.
Seth, we need people to watch the movies.
Yeah. I think what audience we have isn't going to have a problem with saying, "Hey, your kids are probably going to be fighting in this revolution."
Yeah. Well, if you've made it this far and listen, let us know what you thought in the comments below, please.
Yeah, like, subscribe, all that stuff we're supposed to do for growing SEO or something. All right. Well, thanks for joining us again. So tune in next time when when I will undoubtedly have been toppled from my faulty throne, and Bill and Linda rejoin us. Until then, have a good one.
Long live Seth.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Ah.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Galactic Driftwood Podcast. For more information and past episodes, please visit our website at galacticdriftwood.space or subscribe to us on YouTube. And now, please deactivate your cranial downlinks, collect your towels, and be sure to watch your step as you exit our gravity well.